Welcome to the January 2024 edition of Clinic at the Club. This month featuring Rick Cawley and 3D printing.
Hi, I'm Rick Cawley. We're going to talk about 3D printers. I got a couple examples. So you know, either you got the filament or resin. And I'm more familiar with the resin. I haven't hardly done anything with the filament yet, but I'll get into it when I can. The first thing you got to have to even start is you got to be able, you can either get online and download a model. There's free models out there on Thingiverse, and I'm sure there's other ones. And you can also buy models, CAD models online. This depends on what you want to do. If you want to spend money for a model, you can do that. Or if you can find one for free, you can do that. Or you can have a CAD program and you can design your own. And there's a few, I think some of the more popular ones are Tinkercad. I like to use Onshape. There's FreeCAD, Fusion 360, and Blender, which is pretty tough, but that's good for making like little figures. If you want to make a small figure like that, or larger, because you can scale them to whatever you want in CAD. And then the printers, we have resin printers, and this is the cleaning station. So you can use alcohol. It's got a vat that goes with it, so you can put your parts in there and clean them. And then after you get them clean, you can take them off, let them air dry, and you can put them on the turntable that you see there. And then you can cure the UV. So with the filament printer, this is all heat. You got a heated bed and a heated tip, which melts the filament that puts it on your on your build plate. I like the Anycubic, the resin printer, because that does more detail. You can get a lot more detail in your parts, like the little car. And you can't really see in here, but if I can pick it up, maybe you can see that the little the little machines and stuff were 3D printed in here. Oops, loss of that. Then you can print probably whatever your imagination can think of to make. And then for the printers, you got resin, which comes in a bottle like this. You can buy them in kilogram, or I think it's 3 kilogram. And then, of course, with the filament, you got a spool of filament, which I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's over here, which takes filament and melts it, and you deposit on your printer plate. The resin one is going to be ultraviolet sensitive, so it's got a camera, like a camera in there that shows each layer, and it'll harden and create your 3D model. This one's better for detail, and this one's better if you want a little bit more strength and not so much detail. Then there's some things you want to use for your resin and this one, because usually cleaning up is best with alcohol. With this one, it comes with a magnetic plate, so you can take a part off and you can just flex it and it'll pop right off. And then with the Anycubic, we added a plate, so we added a magnetic plate, which you can see here, which will come off, and then you can flex it and get your part off, which makes it a lot easier than the other way. On mine at home, I have to take a metal scraper and get it off. And you have a metal scraper and a plastic scraper, and you only want to use the plastic when you're, clean up your vat with the plastic so you don't damage the film inside there that has to be clear for it to print through. For safety reasons, I think I would use rubber gloves. Make sure you got well ventilated where you're working. And I use gloves because I'm getting sensitive to the plastic. So And I think it's best if you use gloves because you will probably get sensitive after a while. Especially using the alcohol, it's going to dry your hands, so I use gloves when I'm cleaning the parts and when I'm messing with the resin. And if you're real sensitive, I'd wear breathing protection. And on these, the controls are pretty similar. This one just turns this one on. This one, there's a switch on the side that powers up your machine, which you can't see, but then your screen's here. And you can pick your program that you're going to print. The same here. This one also has some added features because this is a self-leveling bed, so you can always use the self-leveler, and this is self-level, so you don't have to. If everybody's used the old one, you got to go in there with like a little piece of paper or something and touch off all over the place to figure out where it's at, where the plate's at. You can make all kinds of things. You know, I made this little truck. This one was gotten online, and I printed it. That was a free model. And then, of course, I had my son made these figures, which I don't know if you can see them all, but they're small. These are HO scale, but you can scale them up or down as you need with anything you do. And these are samples of the machines that are in my little machine shop here. This one is a shaper. This one's a lathe. And of course, I made some cylinders, you know, oxygen and acetylene tanks, barrels. This little pile in front of me is what I made this crane out of. And of course, I got a tiny little hand cart, which I don't know if you can see. And then, of course, pallets with bricks. And it's your, whatever you can think of, you can do. If anybody's got any questions, they can ask me anything you want. I'll try and answer it the best I can.
So is there different size filament on this, or is it just all one size?
It's all one size. You can get different kinds. This is ABS, but you can get different types of plastic to print. I like ABS because it's a little stronger. Same with this, you can get ABS. You can get the regular resin, which is kind of brittle. There's clear. There's different colors. Same with this, the filament. There's different colors. You know, and you know, if you want to spend more money, there's ones with more than one head, so you can print multiple colors while you're printing.
It looks pretty easy. What's hard about it?
Well, the hardest thing is if you want to design your own. The CAD is the hardest. The machines are pretty simple to use. You know, the resin's a little bit more cleanup. You know, because you have to, you know, clean your parts in the machine, in alcohol. You can either, if you don't have one of these, you can do it in a little container with alcohol and a brush and clean it all off and then let it air dry. But you'll still need like something that generates UV to cure it. But or you can put it outside, because if you put this resin in sunlight, it's going to get hard.
Now you said something about downloading off the internet
Yeah.
parts and stuff like that. Do you do it from the computer to that, or you do it on a thumb drive?
I got a thumb drive here. You load your program on the thumb drive, and then you can. There's a slot here to plug it in, right here, and you can plug your thumb drive in, and that'll load your program in there. This one has a SD card, a mini SD card. This one, it gives you an adapter, which looks like your, looks like your thumb drive, but you can put your SD card in it, and then you can plug it in and load the program. I mean, take your SD card, it loads somewhere up here. It loads right here, which I don't know if you can see, but my SD card is right there.
If you were going to print bigger detail, would it be better to print it with that one rather than this, or print the larger, like say a wall, or and then detail it with parts out of the resin?
You could do that. The resin's better for detail if you want good detail. Like I said, this is better for strength. But you could probably print, the people print stuff, figures and everything on these.
So you could actually print the wall of that building, and the brick would be fairly well detailed, or?
I would think so, but you'll have layer lines in there, and you got, it's like everything else. There's a learning curve
Yeah.
to everything because you got to adjust your layer height. This one, the biggest thing is adjusting your temperatures to get it to stick and come out. And usually, depending on, if you change filaments, the temperatures are going to change. Because when I went to this, I had to tweak it by raising the temperature on my bed to get it to adhere to the bed.
So there's no set chart for the heat setting for different size filament.
I believe they have them on there. I don't have my box with me, but I think they do give you the
Okay.
temps. And you can look it up. I mean, everything I do, I end up looking up online. And there's a lot more online. It'll show you a lot more than I can ever tell you.
So then
15 or
the
20
AnyCube,
minutes.
you don't have to adjust the heat, you just put your zip drive in and you
Pretty
don't have
much.
to play with the heat, the temperature, different,
No, you can change your layer heights
yeah.
because the layer heights are going to affect how fast it prints too. The more layers, the longer it's going to take. But with more layers, you get a little more accuracy.
And you can duplicate pieces on that one on the same run. In other words, like your crates.
You can
Or
as
the
many as
blocks
these,
down there, you could make 10 of them at once.
You
How
can-
many can you make on
you can
the-
fill that whole plate
on the
just like
filament?
this. You can fill this plate.
Okay.
So you're not gonna print one at a time. You'll print as many as you can fit. Same with these because I got all the small stuff. I have more than one
Yeah.
printed because I'll print a bunch.
So as an example of time, how long does it take to print 5 dozen of those crates?
Crate.
Or as many as you can get on the plate?
I think this took an hour or two.
Oh, okay.
And then whether it's one or a whole plate, it's going to be
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
amount of
right,
time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's to your advantage to print more than one.
Yeah, I have a strange question. You said you started getting sensitive to the plastic and the resin. Is that why you have to clean it off with the alcohol?
Yeah, the alcohol
Cleans
that it takes care of the resin. That breaks it up and gets it off you.
So I mean, like you developing like it dries your skin out or something?
I get some red marks on like irritation, like dried out.
So is that just from the process? Like I know you have to clean these parts up a little bit. Is like if you're sanding,
No, that doesn't do
that
anything to
doesn't.
me.
Okay,
But sanding, you better wear a mask because it's not good to breathe this stuff.
gotcha.
So wear a dust mask or something when you're sanding because you don't want to generate a lot of dust. But yeah,
So on this one, the build plate's on the bottom, but on that one, it's on the top.
it's on the top. Yeah,
So it builds
it
differently.
builds. Yeah, so it's starting with the bottom of your,
Okay.
and it's building up this way, and this one's starting at the bottom and building up this
Okay.
way. So
Cost. Not only cost of printer, but cost of filament and or resin.
yeah, this little printer I got on sale. This one was $159. Can't quite remember what we paid for this one. I think when it came out, what was it, $300 or $400? I think they've came
No,
way
I think it
down.
was like 600.
600?
6 or 7.
We were in with both. We were about $700 by the time we
Yeah,
bought
that
it.
was
That was
I think
with-
that was the pair.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was with the printer and
Right.
the cleaner and cure thing was about
Okay.
7, but they've came down. And there's 2 sizes of this because mine's smaller. My resin, my wash and clean is smaller than that one.
So as far as use would be, say you're making a car, you would, since that is stronger, you could print the car on that and then print the load on this one for the detail.
Yeah, I
You
think,
know, you could
yeah.
print the cold load, the ore car, whatever you want out of that one. You know, box car, hopper.
I might build the frame for this
Yeah.
on it. Maybe not, if it's a flat car, I might not make the decking with this one, but I'd make the frame with this one, and especially in a box car too. I'd make the frame here and the car here
Okay.
because you get more detail out of this one. But this would be stronger for your chassis.
So that's how you would apply it to our modeling, HO
Yeah.
modeling.
Yeah, and you can build any scale,
Sure.
N, H, O, S, O.
So mainly you would do on the black one there, you do your frame, and then you do the panels and all that stuff on the Anycubic, and you have a kit
Yeah,
basically.
basically you'd have a kit. Yeah, this you could do your sides and ends, and this you could do your frame.
Okay.
So what
you
are
get
the
more
s-
detail on the side frame or in the frame then, or on the panels.
Yeah, yeah, because you're going to get some layer lines in this, and you might have to smooth it out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You get mold lines in it, just like a regular two-part mold then. Injection.
Sort of, yeah.
Injection
I mean,
molding.
what you're going to get is you're going to lay a layer, then the next layer is going to go on, and of course, where those two layers are, where they meet and they've melded together, there'll be a
Ah,
line.
okay.
And the same with this. Every layer creates a. Well, this is a lot finer line than these.
Well, what about cost versus one or the other, as far as making the parts? Is it about the same cost, or?
I don't think it's much more.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, that's
of
the
course,
overlap.
you can get
Yeah.
filament cheaper than I got this.
Same
This
as
was
the
$40 for the Henny
Yeah.
cubic,
It's welded.
and it's about $40 for one of these. So they're about the same. On
So
price.
that'd do about the same as that model there?
I think that might do a little bit more.
More.
What are the size limitations?
Whatever fits on the plate.
Tell us what.
I can't remember. I'd have to measure it, but
The black one's 220 by 220
by
by 250.
Yeah.
And that's all in millimeters.
Right.
I do remember that one.
and this one's. God, what was this one?
It's 9 3/4 long.
Yeah, probably
By-
by six.
yeah.
And he got probably 9 inches.
Is that
And if it's-
alcohol? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Is that alcohol used? Is that rubbing alcohol?
Yeah, you want to
Is it
use.
70% or 90%?
You'd want to use 91. Yeah, 91% alcohol to clean.
One thing I will say, going back to cost, I did get 2 spools of PLA on Amazon for $20. Two
Yeah.
1 kilogram spools.
Yeah, if you look, you can find them cheaper. I found that out myself. But after I bought this one, there's places you can get it cheaper. Yeah. And then, of course, with different filaments, you got to experiment with the temperatures to get it to do what you want.
One thing I don't understand. So, with the resin, you got to do a wash and a cure on that.
Yes.
Do you have to do that on the filament, or?
No, when it comes off, it's pretty much done.
Yep.
Okay.
And the only thing you have to do once in a while is clean your build plate.
Okay.
And that one this plate you want to clean with alcohol, just like you'd clean stuff over
So
here.
you don't have to run it through any kind of curing?
No,
or-
no, it's done. Because you've melded the plastic and then it hardens. It hardens up. Then. Anybody else want to know anything? Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, back when we first got this, when they were using it, it smelled pretty bad.
Yes,
And then there was not so bad a smell.
it depends on what some of the resins smell more than the others.
And is that a strength thing, or is that like detail, or?
I think it's just the chemicals in the resin itself. What I do at home is I got a little double fan. I put it in my window and I run it. I turn that fan on to vent my room, so it doesn't get a heavy smell in it.
So it would be a good thing to set it in front of a spray booth? Or
You
somewhere,
could.
some way to evacuate the fumes
Yeah.
if you don't want them in the
Yeah.
house.
You want to watch it. You don't want to build this stuff, have this too cold when you're doing it. You want to be around 70 degrees when you're.
I know I have. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I have found when I print with the filament printer, when I print ABS, I get a ton more fumes than if I print PLA or PPG, or if I print anything like that. It's not there's almost no fumes. But if
Yeah.
I print ABS, printing
Yeah.
it hot, it's very strong. And I'm opening the window 2 inches to get some cold air, get some fresh air in the room.
Well, and I think too, it's different materials
Right,
because
yeah,
I think there's a plant-based,
okay.
which shouldn't be as bad, and then of course, there's a water soluble, which would be a different chemical mixture.
As far as finishing, painting, I mean, are there any limitations to the?
No, you want to
Methods.
clean them. Make sure they're clean good. After you cure them, I usually wash them with soap and water and rinse them, let them dry,
Mhm.
and then I give them an undercoat, a
Primer.
primer, and then I can paint them.
So any kind of, I mean, acrylic or
Acrylic.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've used acrylic. I usually use the real cheap, like you get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, the cheap craft paints.
What'd you paint the truck with? Is that just a
That's
cheap
just-
acrylic?
That's craft paints. Yeah, this I use craft paints. I think this, I was using craft paints. Most of the stuff, this is, I think this is Vallejo, because that's the concrete. This one is Vallejo. This is Vallejo paints, but any of them will work as long as you got a primer on them. That really helps because it doesn't want to stick really well to the raw plastic.
So the primer's a
Yeah,
critical step with it.
primer's important.
So what type of primer do you use?
I just use Tamiya primer. I've used like Rust-Oleum out of the home shops, home places.
Can you tell any difference between it and the expensive stuff or no?
No.
Now, with adhesives, super glue, regular glue, the resin obviously is super glue.
Yeah, you gotta
You
use
know,
super
and
glue to glue them.
Is the other on the spool? Can you use a regular hobby glue, model glue? You know,
I haven't glued anything with this yet, but I would use
you know, like
super
the tube
glue.
test, just for example, the
Super glue or
tube testers,
CA?
tube stuff,
Yeah.
or you
Super
just
glue or
use
CA?
Yeah, because Matt's built things out of it.
Super glue,
Yeah,
super glue,
CA.
and super glue
That's
and
what I meant.
CA.
I
Those are
think
your
the best thing
two.
is
for either one.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I always use super glue.
What kind of disasters have you had with it?
You're gonna have disasters. You're gonna have failures. I've had prints fail on this plate that I used to build up from. It's not this plate. It's just a piece, some plastic built, and you build on top of it. I've had it, start the few first layers, and then there's nothing, and then it's stuck to my vat.
Is the resin still in there with it?
Yep, resin's still in it, so you got to drain the resin. And a good thing to have is paint filters, because when you drain it, you don't want any pieces going back into your bottle. So you want to, and that's where the plastic scraper comes in. You can scrape it, and then if it's stuck, the best thing to do is kind of give it a little push under there with your finger to kind of get it to bend, and then you can. That's when the plastic scraper comes in, and you can scrape it off. And then, of course, you got to clean your, if it's stuck, you got to clean your vat all again before you start over again.
So does that vat plate ever go bad, or do you have to replace that every once in a while?
The film on the vat, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll go bad, and you'll
I mean,
know.
how often? It depends on how much you're printing.
Depends on how much you're printing. Mine at home, I've replaced a couple times. This one we've replaced twice.
So it's glass, I'm assuming?
No, that's just plastic
Oh,
film.
plastic, okay.
And when you put it on, it's got to be tight, like a drum, if you can hear it.
Okay.
Are they expensive?
They aren't too bad. I think 5 of them is $20 or $30 for 5 of those films, and they'll last you a while.
Depending on how many disasters you have, huh?
It depends. Well, even if it sticks in there, you're not going to destroy your film. You're going to, carefully get it off. But if you wreck it, you can replace them. I'm Rick Colley, and this was the Friday Night Clinic at the Club for the Elkhart Model Railroad. Hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you.